Salamun alaikum. How do we develop basira or insight? Allah tells us, قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي وَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. He says, say, this is my way, this is my path. I call to Allah ala basiratin. I call to Allah elevated upon basira, upon insight. I call to Allah based upon insight. So, first of all, our calling to Allah should be based upon vision, seeing, clarity, insight. It should not be based upon blindness. It should not be based upon traditions, blindly following traditions or blindly following what other people say. It should be based upon basira. But how do we develop basira? This word basira in the Quran is only used two times as a singular. It's used as a plural a few more times in one of the upcoming videos. Inshallah, we'll talk about that. The plural of basira is basair, and that's used a few different times in the Quran. But as a singular, basira is only used two times. It's used in this verse, which is 12:108, and it's used in 75:14, where Allah says, "Balil insanu ala nafsihi basira walau alqa ma'adira." He says, rather, the human being is basira upon his own nafs, is insightful, has clarity about his own nafs, walau alqa ma'adira, even if he puts forward his excuses. So these are the only two places in the Quran where the word basira is used in a singular. In 12:108, where he says, I call to Allah based upon basira, and in the other place, 75:14, where he says the human being has basira upon his own nafs, has insight and clarity about his own nafs. So why only in these two places? What's the connection between these two? So one possible perspective we could take on that is true basira comes from self-knowledge. True basira comes from having insight into oneself. See, there is a connection between knowing Allah and knowing oneself. Listen to this other verse that Allah says, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُمْ. And do not be like those who forgot Allah, so He caused them to forget themselves. See, there's a connection between forgetting Allah and losing self-knowledge. So when Allah uses the word basira only in these two places, where He says, I call to Allah based upon basira, based upon insight, and the human being has basira or insight about his own soul, that should really strike a profound connection in our minds. So the perspective perhaps that we can take here is that calling to Allah based upon basira is calling to Allah based upon your own self-knowledge. And let me explain a little bit more about what I mean. We all have our own unique individual experiences, which gives us our own unique perspectives on life, perspectives on situations. So when we go through these different experiences, what we're supposed to do as Muslims is we're supposed to go to the Quran and we're supposed to look for the guidance of the Quran and apply that to our own unique specific situations. And when doing that, we learn more about ourselves, we learn more about how to deal with that situation, and we develop a unique insight that others might not have because they didn't experience that same situation. So that's how we develop basira, is by lived experience. We go through our lived experience and then we study the Quran and we think about how do we apply the Quran to that lived experience, and then we learn more about ourselves and we learn more about the Quran in doing so. So when Allah says ad'u, this is what He's telling us to say. This is our path. قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي. This is my path. أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة. I call to Allah based upon basira, based upon insight and clarity that I developed from my own introspection in my life and my circumstances and my experience. And Allah knows best. Salamun alaikum.